The 5-1 principle is a really solid principle. In practice, it becomes more of a 5 to 7 minute range, which it's interesting because time management around doing content, it gets a lot of buzz, being that a lot of us are of the belief that content takes too much time. The truth of it all is that the time is there. It's just a matter of how you're strategically using that time. Everyone can grab 5 minutes at some point. As we've mentioned previously, Seth Godin talked about the lizard brain, which is basically, to paraphrase, is the self-critical version of you, the self-critical brain. Everyone has 5 minutes, but do you have 5 minutes where you're not, for example, judging yourself in terms of how you look in those 5 minutes? Are you over-rehearsing? That's a common one too. I don't have a script in front of me. Based on the way we film, you're allowed to talk for as long or as little as you like. That said, we recommend the 5-1 principle. So speak for at least 5 minutes for every one piece of content. As you get better and better, sure, you can record for a minute, and your video is gonna be roughly a minute, maybe 45, 50 seconds after a few cuts, cleanups happen in there. If we wanna go back to a principle that this is based on, if you're interested in hearing the principle behind it, which, as we mentioned in another video, it's important to embed principles into your practice. The standard practice is to get on camera and record a video. And if you're using, for example, an Instagram story or anything like that, you actually get capped at a minute anyway. And it's funny, the short form apps, so Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, they all started out in the shorter range. TikTok was one of the first ones to be 1 minute, whereas IG Reels was still 30 seconds. YouTube hashtag Shorts ended up being a minute. If you think of what goes really well on TikTok, is that even a 60-second video, given that TikTok has longer form options now, but even in a 1 minute video, if you think about it from a filmmaking perspective, I don't want to scare you with the filmmaking perspective, but think about how much footage is filmed for a feature-length movie. If the movie's 2 hours, you can be sure that there was way more than 2 hours worth of footage made, and they just theoretically took the best parts, and that became the movie. So by way of the 5-1 principle, what we're getting at, the principle we're getting at, is the relationship between divergent and convergent thinking. When we try to record a 1 minute video, and that's the video, we record for 1 minute, and that's 1 minute our final product, our video, that is forcing ourselves into convergent thinking. Every part of us, our brain, ourselves, wants to be in the divergent mode of just talking to the camera, having a conversation, talking about something you care about, picking a theme and exploring that theme. Everything about what you're doing, you want to be engaged in divergent thinking, but the practice of trying to force a 1 minute video in 1 minute's worth of footage, that's skipping to convergent thinking. If you are familiar with the principle, and there's a lot of studies and the research that you can go over as well that speaks to the value of divergent and convergent thinking, but I really would encourage you to allow yourself to speak longer than you think you need to. Because the reason why we developed the 5-1 principle the way we did is that even if you practice and you rehearse off camera and you do it perfectly, once the camera turns on, it is human nature for whatever you just practiced, it doesn't come out the same way. It takes a long time to get used to a camera being turned on. That's why you gotta give the props to the actors. You gotta give props to the actors because they are embodying these real emotions, and there's a camera oftentimes right up in their face the whole time. So obviously for our purposes here, it's not gonna be that intense, but it'll certainly feel that way at times. And like I said with the 5-1 principle, is the reason why you're speaking for 5 minutes on camera is that the first 2 minutes that you're on camera, you're still gonna be warming up, because when you're rehearsing off camera, and that's the problem a lot of people get into, they rehearse off camera for so long that by the time they get on camera, they're exhausted, they're stressed, they're tired, and they're also a bit more nervous now. So yes, prepare off camera, but I encourage you to get the camera rolling as soon as possible, because you have 2 minutes of those 5 minutes to continue getting warmed up, kind of settling into your space. Thanks for stopping by for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Now You're Talking Media. We'll see you in the next one.